Somewhere in a Hungarian forest, a fence post has been standing since 1750. It was never treated, never sealed, never replaced. A 2012 study published in the journal iForest measured black locust timber exposed to soil contact for over 6 decades. It showed virtually no structural decay. In 1785, William Cobbett shipped black locust seeds from America to England, convinced this tree would revolutionize British shipbuilding. That tree is Robinia pseudoacacia, the black locust. If you find value in rediscovering plants history forgot, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. And stay until the end, because the most surprising chapter of this tree's story has nothing to do with wood. Black locust arrived in Europe in 1601, carried by botanist Jean Robin to the gardens of King Henry IV of France. Within a century, it had spread across the continent. European foresters called it a miracle. It grew on exhausted, eroded soils where nothing else would survive. It fixed atmospheric nitrogen directly into the ground. The soil beneath a black locust stand improves measurably within a single decade. Prussia planted it by the millions along railroad embankments. Hungary built entire rural economies around its timber and blossoms. The tree produced dense, ring-porous wood that hardened with age rather than softening. Marine engineers measured its resistance to saltwater rot. It outperformed oak in direct burial tests. A continent that had exhausted its ancient forests found unexpected salvation in an American export. The tree asked for nothing. Poor soil, steep slopes, coastal wind. It thrived regardless. Black locust belongs to the legume family, Fabaceae. Its roots host rhizobium bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into soil-available compounds. This is not metaphor, it is measurable chemistry. Studies show black locust stands can fix between 52 and 100 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare annually. That number rivals commercial fertilizer applications. The wood itself is a biological paradox. Robinia pseudoacacia produces robinetin and other flavonoids in its heartwood. These compounds make the timber naturally fungicidal and insect-resistant. No pressure treatment, no copper compounds, no chemical bath. The tree builds its own preservation system from the inside. Jonka hardness tests rank black locust at 1,700 pounds force. Harder than hickory, harder than most domestic hardwoods. Yet it splits cleanly along the grain and works without specialized equipment. The biology was perfect, the economics were inconvenient. After World War II, industrial forestry consolidated around fast-growing species. Pine and spruce could be planted, harvested, and processed within 20 years. Black locust required patience. Its valuable heartwood develops slowly. Patience does not fit quarterly projections. Pressure-treated pine emerged as the standard for outdoor construction. It was cheaper at point of sale. But pressure-treated lumber begins degrading within 15 years in soil contact. Replacement cycles generate repeat purchases. A fence post that lasts a century produces 1 sale. A post that rots in 15 years produces 6 or 7. The math of planned obsolescence replaced the math of durability. Black locust was not inferior. It was simply incompatible with a system that profits from decay. The market did not forget this tree by accident. Roman engineers had no black locust. It is native to the Appalachian region of North America. But indigenous peoples of the eastern woodlands used its timber for bows, pegs, and structural supports for centuries. The wood was so dense that arrowheads sometimes deflected off it. When European colonists arrived, they immediately recognized the timber's properties. George Washington planted black locust extensively at Mount Vernon, specifically for fence posts and ship components. Thomas Jefferson wrote admiringly of its potential as a timber export to Europe. The U.S. Navy evaluated it for warship construction in the early 19th century. In Hungary, Black Locust forest plantations were established by royal decree in the 18th century. They still stand today, some of the original managed stands, producing timber and supporting apiculture. Hungarian Black Locust honey became one of the most prized monofloral honeys in Europe. The tree shaped economies, navies, and landscapes across 2 continents. Its absence from modern construction catalogs reflects policy, not performance. Black locust flowers in late spring, producing cascading white racemes. The fragrance is distinctive, sweet, clean, faintly reminiscent of orange blossom. For beekeepers, this bloom period is critical. Bees produce large quantities of nectar from black locust flowers within a narrow window. The resulting honey is nearly colorless, slow to crystallize, and high in fructose. In Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria, black locust honey represents a significant agricultural export. Hungary alone produces tens of thousands of tons annually. The blossoms have also held a role in European folk tradition for centuries. Historical documents from the 17th and 18th centuries describe the flowers as a seasonal ingredient in rural cooking across France and Central Europe. They were incorporated into fritters, infused in vinegar, and used to flavor spirits. These uses are part of the historical record, documented practices of past eras. The tree was never merely timber. It was a complete seasonal resource. Modern apiculture in Eastern Europe still depends on its reliability. Black locust raises complicated ecological questions. In parts of Europe and the American West, it has naturalized aggressively outside its native range. Ecologists in Central Europe classify it as an invasive species in sandy, open habitats. It outcompetes native vegetation and alters soil nitrogen dynamics. This is a documented and legitimate concern. But within its native Appalachian range, black locust plays a different role entirely. It colonizes disturbed soils, stabilizes slopes, and accelerates forest succession. It is a pioneer species, designed by evolution to heal broken landscapes. Strip-mined land in Kentucky and West Virginia has been partially reclaimed using black locust plantings. The same biological aggression that threatens European dune systems rebuilds American coalfield margins. Context determines whether a species is a problem or a solution. The tree does not change. The judgment changes depending on where you stand. The case for black locust is not nostalgia. It is a structural argument about material performance. Timber that lasts a century without chemical treatment has a measurable ecological advantage over timber that requires toxic preservatives every decade. Life cycle analyses conducted by European forestry institutes consistently show black locust outperforming pressure-treated pine across long time horizons. Several European nations have already reconsidered their forestry policies. Germany, France, and Poland have expanded black locust trial plantations for sustainable timber production. The EU has funded research into its potential as a low-input biomass and agroforestry crop. The tree that was sidelined for economic convenience is re-entering the conversation through environmental necessity. Durability was never the problem. The problem was that durability was inconvenient. What outlasts empires rarely fits inside quarterly reports. But the wood still stands, unhurried, unbothered, waiting.